So, are the immigration and deportation laws being interpreted correctly and implemented responsibly? Joining us on the trapeze are Illinois Democratic Congressman Jonathan Jackson and Texas Republican Congressman Tony Gonzales. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having you both here. Listen, there's a constant balance in our nation's history between the rights of individuals and keeping our country safe. And the immigration debate right now is front and center in that long-term attempted balance. And we've seen throughout our nation's history times when we got it out of whack. You may believe it's out of whack now. You may believe that we're doing everything right. But the question I'll start with Congressman Gonzales, I'll bring it to you first. How are we doing with respect to balancing the rights between the civil liberties of individuals and protecting our country when it comes to immigration?
I think that's the key. We have to get it right, and I think Congress has a role to play in this, and I think it's an everyday challenge. I will tell you this. I represent a district that's 823 miles of the southern border, nearly half of the southern border. It takes me 10 hours to get from one end to the other, and what I've seen in the last few months is our lives have completely changed for the positive. And I think for many Americans, they just want to be treated fairly, right? They just want, we're all paying the law. We're stopping at the stop sign. We're paying our taxes. We're doing all the things we need to do. So at the end of the day, Americans just want to be treated fairly, and they don't want to have people here in the country illegally treated differently than they are. Now, it is a balancing act, though, right? You can go too far one way, or you can go too far the other. And I think that's the key. The goal, to me, the real goal is to have Congress, the body closest to the people, lead us through this.
Congressman Jackson, any concerns with how this current administration is enforcing the immigration laws or implementing them?
Absolutely. I've got quite a few. First of all, when you abduct someone, kidnap them, ship them abroad, stick them into a cage in El Salvador, that has an eerily haunting feel. It's reminiscent of slavery, that you see these men stacked up in beds, and then you see a father in there that has his children that are right here in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. and Maryland. You hear about a young man that's a makeup artist that was law-abiding. No, so I think what the president has done is absolutely atrocious, that the violent criminals, they should be targeted, they should be removed, but people that are coming here to work, that want to have a better life, that had to flee because of corruption in their own country, because of danger or because of gang violence, we should be welcoming your tired, your poor, your huddled masses. And it's a huge economic issues that Americans have to face on bringing people in here to continue our advantage and sustained growth.
So, Congressman Gonzales, do you have any concerns about the due process being given, or the lack of due process being given any of the individuals being deported? I know most are getting their hearings, but some are not. Are you concerned with that?
You always have concerns with that. I mean, look, we're a large country. There's 300 million of us, and you have all these different cases. The issue I have, and this is what often happens in politics, is you take one instant and you try to make it appear as if that is the norm. What I want the norm to be is for rules to be followed and laws to be in place. And for too long, the norm had been lawlessness. Once again, I saw it along the border. And I think for many Americans, they're going, hey, what about us? Somehow we're in the back of the line of all these things that are occurring. Somehow our cities were investing in people that were here illegally and not investing in our housing and not investing in our jobs and our opportunities. So I think it's going to be some time before that balances out. But once again, it's Congress's job to provide oversight and appropriating the funds for that. And I think it's very important that we take that serious.
Congressman Jackson, you mentioned previously about an individual being, quote unquote, kidnapped and shipped out of the country. Would you feel differently if that individual was taken into custody and was given a hearing before he was shipped out?
Yes, I would totally be fine with a person that had the privilege to come to the United States of America and violated the safety and health of an American citizen. They should go. I'd be totally fine with that. But when I hear about a mother that has a child and the child's a legal American citizen, the child has cancer and the child's now been deported with the mother, I have a problem with that. It's just simply a lack of compassion. When I hear about, I see people being rounded up that are trying to get medical services right here in the city of Chicago. We've stopped many of the people that are in this population aren't going to the hospital anymore. They aren't picking up their medicine. They're becoming sicker. I don't want people living in fear. People that live in fear, nothing good can come out of that. I don't want to see a law enforcement officer's life in danger. Let's have a process where we bring people out, that these people are very honorable. They've been paying their taxes, and let's give them a pathway either to stay here or if they want to go back home, let us assist them.
So the comments that I'm hearing from both of you is compassion to varying degrees, but also the respect for the due process and the rule of law. So let's take it to the next step then. If those are two of the fundamental tenets that you both believe in, which is great, then tell me what you would do, if anything, to change the laws. And Congressman Jackson, we can start with you. What would you do? Would you tweak the immigration laws one way or another to make it a better situation?
Yeah, well, first of all, I would make sure that employers had to document people, that people are not exploiting this labor, that if you take the incentive out from employers getting all the benefits and these persons having to live in the shadows, I'm totally against that. It couldn't exist if it wasn't profitable. And it wouldn't be profitable if employers were penalized for hiring people that were doing work that's undocumented. So we have to look at the underbelly of who's benefiting from this. The people are being exploited, the corporations are making huge sums, extra funds for that. So my big wave of the line would be, I would hold corporations responsible that have undocumented people working in them, that are exploiting child labor, that are taking advantage of these human beings.
Congressman Gonzales, your take.
Yeah, John, today we had a hearing. I sit on the Appropriations Committee, and Secretary Noem came before the committee. And last year, I sent a letter to ICE, and I asked ICE how many convicted criminal illegal aliens are loose in our country. The number I got back was astonishing: 662,566. It's a huge number. I asked the secretary, has that number increased or decreased? Her answer was the number of convicted criminal illegal aliens in our country has increased since last year. So to me, it's you tackle it. You go all in after the bad actors. Once again, I'm talking somebody convicted in a court of law. That keeps our community safe wherever you are. And then on the other hand, if somebody is coming here to work, I think you open up work visas. You streamline the process. They don't have access to voting. They don't have access to social services. They have access to a job. And guess what? I think that thrives in our economy. I think that helps our neighbors. I think it does a lot of different things, but those are two separate things. If you're a convicted criminal alien, we're coming after you to keep our streets safe. If you're here to work, come on down.
So a quick question for you both, a very brief answer if you will, please. And that is, in order to expedite and ensure that due process is being given to everyone, even if they're here illegally, would you, Congressman Gonzales, be okay with increasing exponentially the number of immigration judges available to hear these cases?
That is exactly the secret sauce. During previous every administration has done this. President Bush, Clinton, Obama, Biden failed to do it, but Trump Trump won, and that's they had these different programs. One of them was called the PACER program, and what this does is it surges immigration judges, and people get their cases heard in days, not years. That is exactly how you solve the problem.
Congressman Jackson, quickly.
Yeah, make sure that there are more judges that you can deal with, and everyone should be afforded due process of the law. That I want to see each human being respected, and we can do this in an orderly process. Mr. Trump says everything's an emergency, from tariffs to borders to Social Security. It's not. He is the one that's breaking things and then citing that he has to have these draconian and drastic measures to punish people. And let us stop our relationship with that awful, god-awful prison down there in El Salvador. We can deal with this domestically. We don't have to ship people to Rwanda and to El Salvador. It's wrong.
Thank you, Congressman, both of you. A wonderful conversation, and it seems like there's some commonalities here, and we appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Take care.